Our prayer and our pledge led by our superintendent, Mr. Cowell.
Please stand with me, please. Bow. Heavenly Father, as we come to you today, we come to you just thankful with humble hearts. Lord, we're so thankful for the students that are here before us, the students that will go and represent their school and represent the blue and gold jacket. Lord, we lift them up as they get ready to have an opportunity to practice one more time and head off to state convention. And Lord, we know that we have many kids that will be stars, that will be preparing for state office, and we just lift them up for safe travels and a wonderful state FFA convention for them. Lord, as we come together, Lord, we ask for guidance and wisdom. We ask that we keep you first and foremost in our mind, our staff. Lord, we thank you and we lift up those that have lost loved ones here recently. We know the Williston community has lost Miss Johnson, so Miss Michael and Miss Hale, and we lift up each and every one of their families and ask that you just surround them with comfort and peace and strength for the families that are dealing with the loss of a loved one that leaves a hole in their hearts. We ask all these things in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We'll address the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coward. Did everyone get a chance to look at our agenda? Hear a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
What, did you
Yes.
have a request about the consent agenda, Ms. Boyle?
Well, this is just the entire agenda, correct?
Right, now would be the time to probably address that if you want anything from the consent agenda to drop down as an action item.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Well, I think
We
it's
have
just,
a motion on the table.
Okay.
I think we need to amend the motion, please.
I think all we're asking for is there's a request from a board member to have one of the consent agenda items drop down as an action item. So drop it from consent to action, and that doesn't require a motion for that part. So,
Okay.
and so what, I'll let Ms. Boyle take it from there, but what it would be is that consent agenda item would drop down as action item, whatever the next number one would be.
Let's just make it 13.1 and we'll reassign everything else.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we don't need a motion for that because even though we have a motion and a second on the floor?
Yes, ma'am, because anything from the consent agenda can drop down at the
Okay.
board member request to an action item.
Okay, all right, so we have that on our agenda and we've changed that. Do I hear, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes and we'll drop an item down. Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everyone here and thank you all for being here today. We're glad to see everyone and this great, beautiful group of students, so thank you. Mr. Cowart, do you have something you'd like to present?
I do. So, Madam Chair, we have three different groups or three different teams that will be presenting tonight. So, and first I would like to recognize that we have our assistant principal, Ms. Priscilla Hires, who's here with them. So, and then also we have Ms. Cooey, their advisor. And Ms. Cooey, if you'd like to come up and maybe introduce the team and so kind of share what's going to take place, or maybe Ms. Hires if you want to come up too. So.
So like Mr. Coward said, we do have three teams that are traveling to the state FFA convention next week to compete in their state competition. The first one is a group of students that are competing in conduct of chapter meetings. And what that is a contest that was designed to kind of showcase an FFA meeting from start to finish. And so the kids will first open the meeting with their opening ceremonies that they do at any chapter meeting or banquet or convention, and then they go right into business like they would at a business meeting. And then once that item of business is complete, they close the meeting just like they would at a regular FFA meeting. And then they're asked questions based on parliamentary procedure, which is a portion of the business meeting, or officer duties, officer stations, things that are related to their officer position in the FFA. So the business portion of the contest is run like parliamentary procedures, if you're familiar with that contest. They do get a card at their desk. They have a motion that's required to be their item of business. The kids don't know what that motion is until they get to the contest and sit down. The thing that's different and unique with this contest and different from parliamentary procedures is that the kids do get to have pen and pencil so they can take notes, write ideas down, write down things that other kids say if they'd like to do that. So it's like a working business meeting. And they can kind of feed off of each other and what they say. Do you want to add anything about the contest? Ms. Hires has been helping, well, she's the primary coach of the kids for this contest. And so we're very grateful for her for stepping up and doing that with us. The kids have worked really hard. We've been together almost every day during the summer practicing. And so they're really excited to have their competition next Monday. The kids are going to demonstrate from start to finish what they would do in front of the judges at state convention. And then afterwards, if you'd like to ask them questions, you're welcome to do so.
Thank you.
After that, oh, go ahead.
Well, at the end, we did this morning with Rotary. At the end, they do ask for guests, members and guests to stand and say the pledge. You guys will not participate in that piece of the demonstration. So this morning, everybody participated and it's fine. When they go to compete, the moderator lets them know that they won't be participating in that piece. It's just part of the demonstration. So they get to do the pledge twice.
And then after conduct of chapter meetings, Annabelle Whitehurst is also competing in the Creed speaking contest. And so we'll move the table out of the way so that she has the entire floor to present. So she'll present the creed. And then Brooks Yancey is competing in extemporaneous public speaking. And so he has a speech prepared for you as well.
Good.
And we would love questions on all contests if you have any.
Okay, thank you.
Can we use your
Yes, you
gavel,
may.
please? All right, you guys want to come up? We do have Ford filling in for Estella Jo. Estella Jo Fugit is on the team, but she had another obligation tonight, so her brother is filling in for her. So just an FYI on that as well.
So grill him really hard.
I hit it. They'll have 1 minute to review their card once I tap the guy. Yes.
Time.
The meeting room will come to order. We are now holding a meeting of the Williston Middle FFA chapter. Madam Vice President, are all officers at their stations?
I shall call the roll of officers, determine if they are at their stations, and report back to you, Mr. President. The Sentinel.
Stationed by the door.
Your duties there?
Through this door pass many friends of the FFA. It is my duty to see that the door is open to our friends at all times and that they are welcome. I care for the meeting room and paraphernalia. I strive to keep the room comfortable and assist the President in maintaining order.
The reporter.
The reporter is stationed by the flag.
Why by the flag?
As the flag covers the United States of America, so I strive to inform the people in order that every man, woman, and child may know that the FFA is a national organization that reaches from the state of Alaska to the Virgin Islands and from the state of Maine to Hawaii.
The treasurer.
Stationed at the Emblem of Washington.
Your duties there?
I keep a record of receipts and disbursements just as Washington kept his farm accounts, carefully and accurately. I encourage thrift among the members and strive to build up our financial standing through savings and investments. George Washington was better able to serve his country because he was financially independent.
The secretary.
Stationed by the ear of corn.
Your duties there?
I keep an accurate record of all meetings and correspond with other secretaries wherever corn is grown and FFA members meet.
The advisor.
Here by the owl.
Why stationed by the owl?
The owl is a time-honored emblem of knowledge and wisdom.
Being older than the rest of you, I am asked to advise you from time to time as the need arises. I hope that my advice will always be based on true knowledge and ripened with wisdom. Madam Vice President, why do you keep a plow at your station?
The plow is a symbol of labor and tillage of the soil. Without labor, neither knowledge nor wisdom can accomplish much. My duties require me to assist at all times in directing the work of our organization. I preside over meetings in the absence of our president, whose place is beneath the rising sun.
Why is the president so stationed?
The rising sun is a token of a new era in agriculture. If we will follow the leadership of our president, we shall be led out of the darkness of selfishness and into the glorious sunlight of brotherhood and cooperation. Mr. President, all officers are at their stations.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The Secretary will call the roll of members.
There are 7 members and numerous guests present, Mr. President.
Thank you. FFA members, why are we here?
To practice brotherhood, honor agricultural opportunities and responsibilities, and develop those qualities of leadership which an FFA member should possess.
May we accomplish our purposes, I now declare this meeting of the Williston Middle FFA chapter duly open for the transaction of business or attention to any matters which may properly be presented. Is there any business to come before the assembly?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hires.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that our chapter invite a Florida Farm Bureau representative to discuss careers in agriculture.
Second.
It has been probably seconded that our chapter invite a Florida Farm Bureau representative to discuss careers in agriculture. Mr. Hires, as make this motion, you're the first right to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move this main motion because I believe it will be a great way to inform our future members about everything that will be going on in our chapter. I also believe that it would be a great way to check off another box on our quality chapter planning guide, getting our chapter one step closer to meeting the qualifications. So please vote with me in favor of this main motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Whitehurst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Ann Tiffany said, hold an inborn fondness. I think this discussion would be a great opportunity for new and current members to discover their inborn fondness throughout the ag industry. So please vote with me in the passing of this motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am in favor of this motion because the Florida Farm Bureau gives things like scholarships and grants, which the scholarships help seniors pay for classes in ag-related fields, which can help them learn what they want to do. And the class grants helps kids in younger grades get introduced to agriculture before they reach 6th grade. So for these reasons, I implore these to them to vote in the positive of this motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Conquest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I feel like this is a wonderful idea because of a lot of our CDEs, CC, and LDs, such as livestock judging, horse judging, conduct, pro, they all end at the high school level. But with bringing somebody on from the Florida Bureau, they will be able to tell us about the careers that they can obtain, and that they can still do. So even if they don't even do any of these CDEs or LDEs, it could inspire them to compete and in one day future come and tell us about their careers that they have been successful in. So I implore the Assembly to vote in the positives of this motion.
Mr. Chairman.
State your inquiry.
What is the vote required to pass the main motion?
Majority. Does this answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Bertrand.
Thank you. I think this is an awesome idea because we could invite our Area 2 State Vice President, Carly Newsom, to come and see how we run our FFA platform. We could also give her a chance to speak on how her journey was in FFA and how FFA is important to her. So please pass this motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Fugit.
I am against this main motion because we have we have state convention coming up for our FFA chapters, and we wouldn't have the time to put this into our agenda. And the Florida Farm Bureau also has other conventions coming up that they won't be able to send a representative over to our school to talk. So please vote with me against this main motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Conquest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I call for the question.
Previous question has been called for. Let me remind the Assembly that this motion is not debatable nor amendable and requires a 2/3 vote for passage. We will now proceed to vote. All in favor of passing this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Pin the chair, the nays have it, and this motion fails. Is there any further debate on the main motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Fugit.
I move to postpone this motion indefinitely.
Second.
It has been probably seconded that we postpone this motion indefinitely. Mr. Fugit, as maker of this motion, you're the first right to speak.
Thank you. I don't think that this would be a good idea because like I said before, we wouldn't have the time to do this event, and we also have the harvest coming up, and the Florida Farm Bureau will need all hands on deck to get their people together to harvest all the fruits and vegetables that they have planted. So please vote with me in favor of this postponement.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hires.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am not in favor of this postponement. We have already given this main motion far too much of our time to just go ahead and kill it. So I believe that we should see it through and pass this motion correctly. Please vote with me in the negative on this postponement.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Bertrand.
Thank you. I think this is a great idea because we have state convention coming up and we should focus on what's happening now other than the future. So please fill this postponement.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe that killing this motion is a bad idea because many of our seniors have expressed interest in wanting to go into an ag-related field when they're older, and this would give them a great opportunity to learn what fields they have to go into. So for these reasons, I implore the Assembly to fail this postponement.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Conquest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not feel like this is a good idea. Since like I was saying, there's a lot of contests that that we can do. See, and I believe in the future of agriculture. See, this is maybe just one little step that could inspire a whole generation. In order to become in the ag industry. So I do not feel like this is a good idea. So please vote with me in failing this.
Is there any further debate on the postponement? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All in favor of passing this postponement, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Pin the chair, the nays have it, and the postponement fails. Is there any further debate on the main motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Bertrand.
Thank you. I move to refer this motion to a special committee of 3 appointed by the chair, with the chair appointing the chair to report back at our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
It has been probably seconded that we refer this motion to a special committee of 3 appointed by the chair, with the chair appointing the chair to report back at our next regularly scheduled meeting. Ms. Bertrand, as maker of this motion, you're the first right to speak.
Thank you. I move this referral because we need more information about when, how, and where we are going to do this event. So please pass this referral.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Whitehurst.
I disagree with the maker of this motion. At the current time, our committees are swamped with all the motions we've been referring to them to dive in deeper and understand how we can put those motions into action. So please vote with me for the benefit of our chapter and vote in the negative.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hires.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am not in favor of this referral. Recently, our committees have not been dealing with motions quickly enough, and at this rate, they wouldn't be able to get through all of the motions they have and get to this one before the window of opportunity to pass this and go through with it has passed. So please vote me in the negative on this referral.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am in favor of this motion because it gives us the opportunity to see if there is a Florida Farm Bureau representative who could come. And if not on the day we've set, then we could work with them to figure out a day where we can host this and they can come. So for these reasons, I implore the Assembly to vote in the positive on this referral.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Conquest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. See, so I feel like this is a good idea because after state convention, there's nothing going on for the rest of the summer. So this would give them time to think about things clearly, see how this would actually happen. See, and what careers we would even talk about because there's a lot of careers that they could talk about, and so we would still need to find what we would talk about and who would even help us do it. So please vote with me in passing this.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Fugit.
I am against this referral because lately we've been sending in a lot of information to our committees and it has just been piling up on them and we haven't gotten a lot back lately. And I feel like that this referral would just keep piling on top of their stack of information. So please vote with me against this referral.
Is there any further debate on the referral? Seeing none, we're now proceed to vote. All in favor of passing the referral, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Pin the chair, the nays have it, and the referral fails. Is there any further debate on the main motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Whitehurst.
I'm in favor of this motion. We actually have a contact at the Florida Farm Bureau office, Ms. Jamie Geralds, who is a supporter of Williston FFA, and I think this would be a great opportunity to come in contact with her and ask if she'd like to speak on behalf of the Farm Bureau at this event. So please vote with me for the benefit of our chapter and the positive.
Is there any further debate on the main motion? Seeing none, we're now proceed to vote. All in favor of passing the main motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Pin the chair, the ayes have it, and the main motion passes. Is there any further business to come before the assembly? Mr. Secretary, do you have a record of any further business which should now be transacted?
I have none, Mr. President.
Does any member know of any new or unfinished business which should properly come before this meeting? We are about to adjourn this meeting of the Williston Middle FFA chapter. As we mingle with others, let us be diligent in labor, just in our dealings, courteous to everyone, and above all, honest and fair in the game of life. Fellow members and guests, join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I now declare this meeting adjourned. The board has any questions for us?
I think that was an excellent presentation. And so you're going to Orlando to present this?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And you'll be in front of a huge crowd, right? Are you ready for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do they have to understand the topic? Like when you make a motion and somebody says no, do they have to understand all that when you go before them? Or what are they looking at to judge you on?
The judges will already know what we're talking about, and the people seeing the stands will hopefully we will be able to explain them why we voted yes, and seeing like all the reasonings behind what we're doing and the motions that we're making.
Fantastic.
Have you been to state FFA conference before, any of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so y'all all been good. It's a wonderful.
Some of us won parliamentary procedure last year, which is a main component in this contest.
Good. Great. I think you did an outstanding job.
What time did you have?
They got 12:32, so they were within their time frame.
Good.
I don't know how you remember that.
Good. Remember, so I think one of the comments was about talking a little bit slower, and you guys did that. So I think some of you that needed to, you did a really good job enunciating, so talking clearly. So, fun fact, Miss Jamie Geralds works for the Department of Ag now, so just so you know. So, but it was right, you were spot on. So, and I like how you guys all used the creed in there. So, and you touched on it also, and you touched on relevant people. So, good job. So, good job.
Excellent job. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move that table.
You'll move it or something?
Motion. Yes, discuss it all. They had it down.
Where to go?
So Devin, are you going to state convention next week?
I'm gonna try to go Thursday. That's the awards night, so hopefully find out something good news.
Yeah.
Annie will be down there, start Sunday night. They go Sunday and then they compete Monday.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I have to call down this rowdy group here.
Yeah, stand over by the, or either way. Everybody can see it.
The FFA Creed by E.M. Tiffany. I believe in the future of agriculture. With a faith born not of words, but of deeds. Achievements won by the present and past generations of agriculturists. In the promise of better days through better ways. Even as the better things we now enjoy have come to us from the struggles of former years. I believe that to live and work on a good farm or to be engaged in other agricultural pursuits is pleasant as well as challenging. For I know the joys and discomforts of agricultural life and hold an inborn fondness for those associations which, even in hours of discouragement, I cannot deny. I believe in leadership from ourselves and respect from others. I believe in my own ability to work efficiently and think clearly, with such knowledge and skill as I can secure. It's in the ability of progressive agriculturists to serve our own and the public interest in producing and marketing the product of our toil. I believe in less dependence on begging and more power in bargaining. In the life abundant and enough honest wealth to help make it so for others as well as myself. In less need for charity and more of it when needed. In being happy myself and playing square with those whose happiness depends upon me. I believe that American agriculture can and will hold true to the best traditions of our national life, and that I can exert an influence in my home and community which will stand solid for my part in that inspiring task. Thank you.
Great delivery. How long did it take you to get before us right now, memorizing and doing all that?
I learned it in 6th grade, like the summer going into 7th grade, and then I competed at sub-districts and got second my 7th grade year, and then this year I ended up winning.
I can see why. Good job, very nice job.
Very good.
When was the FFA creed written?
In 1938.
Has the FFA creed ever been changed?
Yes, sir, at the 38th and 63rd National FFA Conventions.
And what's the main idea of the FFA creed?
I think the creed inspires FFA members and anyone who hears or reads it to just appreciate how far agriculture has come and how far it's going to take us. I think those key phrases in the creed, we can remember to look back at the past and just continue to look for the present and just see how far it's gotten us.
Excellent answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Brooks.
Well, I'm just going to give you a little information about extemporaneous speaking. You pick 3 cards, and you decide out of the 3 cards which topic you want to use. And then you have 30 minutes to prepare a speech, and then you deliver it. So basically, what my topic is today is what are the key points in the Farm Bill? The Farm Bill connects the food on our plates, the farmers and ranchers who produce that food, and the natural resources, our soil, our air and water, that make growing food possible. The Farm Bill is a piece of legislation passed roughly once every 5 years that has a tremendous impact on farming livelihoods, how food is grown, and what kind of foods are grown, covering programs ranging from crop insurance for farmers to healthy food access for low-income families, from beginning farmer training to support for sustainable farming practices. The Farm Bill sets the stage for our food and farm systems. As a leading advocate for family farmers and sustainable agriculture, it's our job to make sure that this important bill is good for farmers, consumers, and for the natural environment. Every 5 years, the Farm Bill expires and is updated. It goes through an extensive process where it is proposed, debated, and passed by Congress, and then is signed into law by the President. The Farm Bill includes titles within their chapters. An example of a title is in the 2018 Farm Bill, for instance, was titled Title VI, Rural Development. This beneficial component entails programs that help foster economic growth through rural businesses and community development. These components of the Farm Bill help to strengthen agriculture and continue to preserve our heritage. Agriculturists everywhere across America benefit from this in various ways. Here is the true test of program success. Do farmers, ranchers, and agricultural entrepreneurs use this program? Does the program accomplish its goals and reach the people it's meant to reach? And does it have an impact? Following up on the success and challenges of specific Farm Bill programs is another key step in improving our food and farming systems. By sharing evaluation and feedback on farm programs, we can get in the know on the effects of our farms. Feeding the nation is a risky and expensive business. But several Farm Bill programs exist to not only support the producers, but also provide a multitude of benefits for local communities and wildlife habitats. Through wildlife programs such as the RCPA, which incentivizes voluntary conclusion practices. Our food and farming system confronts new challenges today, but through citizen and stakeholder action for a fair Farm Bill, we can ensure the vibrancy and productivity of our agriculture, economy, and communities for generations to come. Overall, the Farm Bill is one of the few remaining bipartisan endeavors left in America, and it's critical and important to the livelihoods of farmers and ranchers and our nation's food supply. Thank you.
Questions? You take questions?
Yes, sir.
When was the last Farm Bill passed?
The last Farm Bill was this year.
Do you get to do research after you're given your questions?
I get a 10-minute internet period,
10
which
minutes.
is included in that 30-minute period for my speech writing.
For only 10 minutes of it, you can
Yes, sir.
research.
Any examples of how the Farm Bill affects Levy County?
The Farm Bill affects Levy County because Levy County is a rural area. And with many farmers coming up to the Farm Bill hearing, it can express farmers' points of view and express how Levy County can benefit from the Farm Bill passing and its amendments.
Did you find any negative aspects of the bill that you thought?
Well, some negative aspects of the bill can be it lowers like the taxes for the government, which they have to like improve on one area of the scale to lower the other area of scale, which is a downfall for the Farm Bill. But overall, the Farm Bill aims to protect the farmers and ranchers and help to grow our nation's food supply.
I think you did an excellent job with that little bit of research and then presenting your speech, and I really liked the way you talked to both sides of the audience. That was great and very important. That was terrific. Now, when you study for these before you go to the state, do you have a general idea of which questions?
I have no idea what questions are going to be, but based off research, I can get some key points that I know in my mind to use, such as, I didn't use it in my speech, but I know that in the early 1900s, 97% of the world's population was involved in agriculture. As of now, there's only 2% of the world's population directly involved in agriculture.
Very good. You did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Good job, Rose.
That's it.
Thank you very much, Williston FFA, and we wish you the very, very best at the state. And if you would like to be excused and leave, or you're also so welcome to stay for our board meeting. Ms. Kaylee Wade.
It's always really hard to follow kids.
You did a great job.
Yeah, I wish I could talk for the adults like that.
So before you is our profession, it's called a professional learning system. The state had a rule developed last year that they wanted all the districts to house all of their professional development in one book. And so that's what we have done, which is lovely. We went to training. Apparently all the districts had a plan at some point. Nobody knew where it was. Every district was shocked that we even had one. So we're starting from scratch. They gave us 17 prompts, and as a district instructional team, we worked on this, developed, put everything. We had all the pieces, we just had to put it together. So a couple of things I wanted to point out. Like I said, there were 17 prompts. We had to put our mission statement, how we go about developing our professional development, what we do, surveys, what are our needs? Where do we find this information? Where do we find where we need to help our teachers and our admin? So that's all in here. The stakeholders that are involved, the funding that is involved, of course, has to be put there, so we did that. We had some assurances. There were 17 prompts in all. It was quite extensive. But as a team, we developed it. Jamie Hanlon was very good at doing this, so I appreciate her help, especially being new in my role. One of the things I did want to point out on page 18 on prompt 11, our PD, I want to point out, through this monitoring of resources, the district is able to ensure that all teachers are provided the professional learning on resources that are state adopted and supplemental in use of student learning. So our PD is based on what the state has given us as guidelines, so I want to point that out. Are there any questions about this?
So you developed and then the state accepted, or what? Or
We did, we submitted a draft, they came back with a few questions, we clarified, and this will be what I send to them.
Okay.
And then they may have some additional questions. Some of the counties hadn't got an initial response back. We did get ours pretty quickly. I think I submitted it before the deadline, so that's why I got my response a little quickly. That's okay. So they said this is not a got you, this is just for them to answer questions on our PD that we're providing to our staff.
Good, thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All-
Looks great.
Yeah.
Good job.
All in favor?
Detail.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the work.
Sure, and it's a 5-year process, so in 5 years we'll have to
Do it
do it all
again.
over.
Do it again.
Just like the Farm Bill.
Right.
Right,
It's on the
yes.
same rotation.
That's right. Sounds good. Thank you very much. Ms. Julia?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here with the wellness plan and the wellness policy. It's the annual time to get it out there, advertise it for the 30 days so we can get it approved for the following school year. In the wellness plan, the changes that were made were just putting some components in the policy because they were added during COVID. That's safety in schools, and then the emotional climate for our staff and for our students. Those were the changes that were made there. Any questions?
No.
So I'm just asking permission to post it.
Do we want to do both of them now? Or just
Yes,
one?
ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so the motion is for both of them.
Correct.
So moved on both as the way they are presented now.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes for both of
Thank
them.
you.
Thank you very much. So thank you for presenting that so well. Mr. Watt?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Before I present 5 proposed changes to policy, excuse me. Mr. Gore and I, we were looking at some different policies, and our Chapter 8 of our board policies is labeled maintenance. But when we look at that group of policies, it's really more comprehensive than just maintenance. For example, there are school safety and other policies that are within that chapter. So I'd like to propose to you that we change that to auxiliary services instead of maintenance. And we can vote on that at the next board meeting. I can bring it back to you if you're in agreement to do so. This would also match what NEFAC, when NEFAC gives us the model policies, that's what they call Chapter 8 is auxiliary services and not maintenance. I don't know how long it's been called maintenance. I think it may be in the original state, it was just maintenance, but since then, there have been some other things that have been brought into that particular chapter. And I just think it'd be a little bit cleaner if we did that. If you're in agreement, I'll bring it back as an agenda item for our next meeting, if you're so inclined.
So we're not adding an extra section policy, we're just changing that name.
We're changing the name of that
Proposing
chapter
that.
8.
To match what NEFAC has. Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, all right. So if we can look at, we have 5 additional policies. My computer went to sleep. The first one is 5.19, and 5.19 is tobacco use in district. Educational. Educational records and of pupils and adult students. Our policy. There were so many changes that were required by a change in board rule, a state board rule, that it made sense just to delete the old one and just adopt the entire new policy that was given to us by NEFAC. And so you'll see, we don't have the old one up, but you can see that this is entirely new policy. The main difference, and it's sort of a new hot topic, is PII, personal identifiable information. And so that, and also there were some new threat assessment updates that we had to include. So between those two things, it just made more sense to us just to scrap the old policy entirely and update with this new policy. So is there any questions on that one? And all I'm going to ask for you today is just permission to advertise, and then we'll bring it back next board meeting, and then we'll adopt it in the meeting after that one.
I mean, we kind of pretty much have to adhere to this language due to legislative.
Well, we had to add the new language. We could have taken our old one and just sort of tried to adapt it and meld them together. But in this case, it's just it looks better and cleaner if we just go with the whole new version.
That's right.
Our next one is 5.38. Bullying. There are several policies, like the wellness policy that Ms. Julia presented. That one is annually. There are some that are every 3 years. We have to look at them and revise them, advertise them. And the bullying policy is one of those. And if you look at it, very minor changes. The only changes to that policy that we're proposing is to adapt or adopt the new CISR definitions of bullying and harassment, which we've already done in our student code of conduct that you've already approved.
Right.
So it just makes it cleaner and makes sure that they are in alignment. So that's the only changes there.
This one is once a year we update?
Every 3 years on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then every 3 years on corporal punishment is another one, for example, that we have to look at. By the way, I also, as required by statute, did get some input from our Lee County Sheriff's Department. Mr. Max Long looked at this, and he didn't have any suggestions for any changes at all either.
So this helps mirror the changes that was made to the student code of conduct.
We've already changed those definitions in the student code of conduct, so this makes them the same.
Right.
So there's no confusion. Our third one is 6.36 employee experience for salary purposes. While we were in negotiations, actually, we were researching this particular policy in regard to some negotiation talk, and we realized that our old policy had the wrong statute number. That statute was no longer relevant, and the statute number had actually changed. And so what I've done there is just update it with the correct statute. The next one is required by a policy change. Our 727 online educational services agreements and contracts, and there's a lot of new language that we've had to put in our contracts, and quite honestly, we've gotten some pushback from some of our vendors in regard to this. And not only is this required by the new state board rule, but by having this new policy in place, I think it gives us a little more leverage with these companies that are pushing back in regard to some of the language.
What don't they like?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, first of all, it's I think in
Data sharing.
Mr. Locke, you may be able to clarify, but it's about 40 pages long or something to that effect, and it's very detailed. And I think, in some cases, some of these companies like to have the data and be able to share it with others. Do you have any other information on that?
Sure. It restricts what they can use with our student personal information, and they consider personal information if a student logs onto a device and it connects through an internet portal. That internet portal is considered personal because so the gist of the rule was to prevent vendors from using our children's data to, literally you can build a internet profile of a student. Okay, it's not that difficult to do. In the state of Florida, Florida says no, you're not going to do that. And this policy is basically saying we're not going to allow you to do that. And anybody from Creighton can tell you it is a fight. There's also some other rules about privacy that we have to make even tougher, which makes it a little more difficult to teach because some of the tools that we were used to using are not going to be available simply because you can't share our data outside the United States. Right? That's another rule. There's a lot of changes coming to this, but it's all for the safety of our children. That's basically all it's about, is keeping our kids safe.
The companies were using that as a revenue source, selling the data, probably the other time.
Right. That's why they're pushing back.
That's why they're pushing back, because they're losing money,
Yeah,
not selling the student data.
Okay. Any questions about that one? And that's, by the way, that's an entirely new policy. And then the last one is 8.19, tobacco use in district facilities. You have the old one, which was very simple, basically one paragraph. And quite honestly, it says the same thing as this new policy. The reason for the new policy proposal is because of a meeting that the superintendent and I had with Jonathan Lewis from the Levy County Prevention Coalition, and as part of one of their grants, they expressed that this policy would help them. This policy basically, again, says the same thing, but it's much more detailed than the old policy, and has, some of the other things that we already have in policy about what to do if tobacco is used at, say, a sporting event and so forth. So it just outlines it in much greater detail than what we had previously. So it really doesn't change what we're doing, it's just
it makes it more detailed,
more elaborate. And if it helps Mr. Lewis, he helps us in a lot of ways, so we decided that we would bring it before the board.
I think it's great. It's very detailed.
I think it needs to be on that issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's all of them. So if we would ask now for your permission to advertise.
Advertising, we're voting on the 5 policies you just presented. Do I hear a motion?
So moved on the 5 policies presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Lott.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Cowart.
Yes, Madam Chair, last year, through conversations, as we have storm preparations, Mr. Denny George and I had some conversations on what the district could do to help and assist them, and he asked, and we approved last year contract that's presented, basically that if there ever was a hurricane and then afterwards any storm cleanup, we would help with buses and manpower to drive the buses to help their staging areas so they could get electricity back to our families. And so that's basically a flow through. So Mr. Masters has looked at the figures, so and everything is the same with the exception of the dates.
Thank you very much.
I'm assuming if there was ever a conflict of once school is restored but power's not, we would not be able to fulfill that contract. Or we don't think just didn't want to back us into a corner.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Mr. Cowart? Our committee members, alternate?
Next up, so it's that time of year, so where we select FSBA advocacy representative, so which is the old legislative representative, so the change that they took place there. Ms. Boyle has served there this past year, and Ms. Brookins served as the alternate, so just looking for some direction on who would like to serve on those 2 spots.
Ms. Boyle, you've had some experience with it. Is it something you want to continue or nominate?
I feel free to continue. If Mr. Whitehurst wants to get his feet wet in that and nominate himself, I'm perfectly fine, but I'm perfectly happy to represent.
I think you're doing a good job. You just keep on going.
And I'm happy to serve as alternate.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I hear a motion for that?
I make a motion to have Tammy as the advocacy representative and Paige as the Brookins as the alternate.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Our meeting times and dates, Mr. Cowart.
Yes, Madam Chair, on June 27th, so I'd like to request that we flip that from a morning meeting to a night meeting at 6 o'clock. So there's some training going on through in the district, and there's several of us that need to be at this training. So that's my request there. And then on July 20th, we had a board meeting scheduled for the 21st, trying to give Ms. Lake enough time to be able to present the budget for the ad that we have to do for Department of Revenue. And she feels very strongly that she can get that done, that we can move that meeting up to Thursday night, so at 5 p.m. on that.
Okay.
All right.
So it won't be a Friday, it'll be a...
She needs to be a night meeting. I need to give her, she needs the whole day.
So Thursday.
But you said
27th, move, so basically we're moving.
To 6.
The 27th, so let's take it one by one. The 27th going from a 9 a.m. to a 6 p.m.
And then a July 20th to a 5 p.m. And we're taking it off of the 21st and we're into the 20th.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for those 2 changes?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll have to let our other board members know about those.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So they both be at 6 o'clock.
Correct.
Right.
Six.
Well, 5. One
One
at
was
6 and one
5.
at
I
5.
said the 20th one at 5.
Okay. At this time, I will, we'll take public comments from anyone who would like to discuss anything or present to the board and come up? What do you say, Breezy?
Yeah, no comment.
Okay, thank you for that comment. If there are no other comments, I'll move to the approval of our minutes. Did everyone get a chance to read the minutes of May 23rd?
Yes, ma'am.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes for the minutes. Thank you very much. Our consent agenda. Mr. Whitehurst?
The item.
Yeah, we had to do that.
Okay, so the item that was pulled, and we moved it to the bottom, what item was that?
Madam Chair, that is, let me get to the bottom.
One.
Yes, it's the administrative other salary schedules.
Okay. All right, so we are going to pull that item, and we will vote on that separate. So everything that's on the general consent besides that item, Mr. Whitehurst, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Ms. Boyle, do you have any questions?
I spoke to Mr. Coward this morning, and we went through everything. Just on that NEFAC contract, did the names have to be in there, or it doesn't matter right now?
Does not matter.
And I have spoke to Mr. Cowart too about the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. So we pulled the item, administrative and other salary schedule. So I'm going to open the floor for that one. Ms. Boyle?
Okay. After a long discussion with Mr. Cowart this morning, I understand that this whole page is not ratified yet, so it will be brought again before us, and we have to vote on it again. Personally, when I see something before me that I'm voting on that says 23-24 and effective July 1st of 2023, all of this, the section B at the bottom does not apply to that ratification at all. So I'm asking if the board would approve with me just tabling this section B on the bottom of that and moving it to the actual administrative salary schedule that comes back before us as when we vote on it then.
Okay, so you're saying that this is something that we've already voted on and we're bringing it forward, but you're pulling the section B item? Is that what you're saying? So that I'm clear, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. I don't quite understand yet.
The salary schedule, as it was explained to me, this is coming before us so that we can move forward with.
This was the salary schedule that was ratified by the board last November after we went all the way through negotiations.
Right.
So every year, we bring you a salary schedule to start off the school year. And so this salary schedule, then when we continue and we have negotiations, which we have negotiations scheduled at the end of June, and I believe a couple for July coming up. So in trying to anticipate and work through getting, starting the process earlier with negotiations. So all of this will come back before you once it is totally finalized again. So this doesn't mean anything. So as far as there's nothing ratified or anything changes on this salary schedule moving forward.
So Ms. Boyle, I'm not understanding the purpose of why that you would want then, I mean, this is our past practice and this is what we've done. What is the purpose of what you're saying and you want to pull?
The last conversation that we had when we voted on it, we also had the conversation about Section B. Because Section B basically doesn't apply to the rest of this right now to continue to move forward, I'm uncomfortable with voting on the whole thing as it is now with that section B being there, being as it's effective July 1st, 2023. I understand completely. It's my personal feeling of how I'm voting and the dates and everything of the items presented before me. And so I'm asking that as a vote from the board, and that's the reason why.
So, Mr. Coward, or whoever can answer, is this a past practice that we have always done and had that section A and B?
The section has been there for the last 2 years. So it was out of researching and looking around what other districts did. Columbia County and Putnam County, which are both two NEFAC districts. Columbia County has it written in theirs, so where it's the 1%. Putnam has it written on their salary schedule where it's a 2% and has a cap at 16% for the superintendent, and also has the ability to pay him a supplement for master's degree, doctorate degree, specialist degree. So they've been there for the last 2 years, but it's always been the practice that we bring what's ratified and in place for the upcoming school year. But that has been in place for the last 2 years.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking, is that we have done that in the past practice this way, and this would be the time that we bring this forward to vote on it.
And then once it's ratified, so once we go through negotiations and everything is ratified, so this doesn't mean that there's not going to be any escalation until it comes back before this board, and this board would have the opportunity to vote at that point in time.
So the way I see it, Ms. Boyle, I mean, it's been on there, and it will come back before the board again, and it has been. Now that's the way I see it too, on there. Mr. Whitehurst, do you have any questions or?
I mean, I kind of understand it, but to be honest, I understand what ratification and what she's asking to a point, but to not have been through a whole cycle. But the way I understand it is it's on here now, and it's been on there since last year. Last 2 years, and it will still become before a vote later on?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
When we go through salary negotiations with both our ESPs, our instructional units, and then after we figure all that and bring that to you guys as we go through the process with negotiating and health insurance and the rates and things, with all of those things, what will go into compensation. So you will have an opportunity to vote up or down on that, on whether it would escalate to 3%. So at this time, it's 2%. It'll stay 2%. So.
Thank you.
So basically, right now, we're just saying whether it's going to move forward to the next level or.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I would like to point out that over the course of the past 2 years, so our teachers have seen upwards of 5% raises. So their starting teacher salary has gone up $10,000, I believe. Admin received about a 3.25 or 3.5% raise last year, along with performance pay for those that had A schools, B schools. So they were rewarded also for. So, and as we're in the process of trying to hire people, so I would encourage everyone to not look at this at who sits in the seat, but look at what you want to attract in the future. So across the board, whether it's a teaching position, whether it's an ESP position, whether it's a school admin position. So that this is looking forward and helping to move Levy County forward. So we are a B district at this point in time. We've got a really good team in place that has put a lot of hard work into getting this district to that, and this board is a part of that process. So
I think we'll be given the flexibility to give raises. I mean, obviously when you're elected, you have a set salary, but when you're in that position, you can either kind of be complacent and just kind of get by, or you can achieve and try to strive to do more and more for this district. And I feel like Chris has done that, and I feel like it's, something I would say, 1%, to me, that's just a nominal, to me, a fee or a raise to, per year for what he can do and what he's done, what he's done in the community and what he's, done as far as pushing legislatively, trying to get more funding for this district. And I just feel like it's, and as he said earlier, if he's not superintendent, it's still in there down the road for us flexibility if another one is sat in that seat. So I just think it gives us some, some reason for that person in that seat to maybe achieve a little bit more. Because I've been, in business, and I see people, that, you pay good, but sometimes if you give them a little bit more, they're willing to kind of do a little bit more. So that's my feelings.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms.
May I
Williams.
ask council a question?
Certainly.
Council, if this gets voted on tonight, and I know it's still going forward to ratification, that section B, once it comes back to us, if we vote on it tonight, how can we then, when it comes back to us, accept it or deny it at that point?
I think any matter that comes before the board is subject to an amendment. If something came back before the board and one of the board members wanted to suggest an amendment to it, that would be, if you got a second, you could have a vote on that and then a vote on whether the amendment passes or not.
So it would need an amendment, but you're not going back to the original voting on it?
This will come back before this board. When we finish salary negotiations, this whole salary schedule will come back before this board to be ratified.
In any aspect of it that a board member wanted to suggest a change to, they could suggest an amendment to anything coming before the board.
Okay. One other point, I did not pull this because the admin pay, administrative pay, I think that's wonderful. I think we need to inspire and give as much as we possibly can to admin and teachers and staff, all staff. When I spoke to Mr. Cowart, and Mr. Cowart, when we spoke today at length, years before I presented paperwork and salary schedules and how it was already bumped up and, asking for 1%, 2%, 3%. And I sat down and the question that you asked me, you said, why does this give you heartburn? And I pondered that for a minute and I thought, that's a valid question. So instead of pulling paperwork, and I didn't even think it would be a discussion, I just wanted to pull that section and move it on for a further discussion when the board was here, the full board was here. But I guess the best way to answer that, and for everyone else and for the record, is no matter what, it's not disrespecting Mr. Cowart, it's not disrespecting the work he's done, the work he's going to do in the future. It is me, it is my opinion. And my opinion is, as an elected official, you take an oath and you're a servant. And we serve the people. And to me, this is my opinion, no one else's on the board's opinion, so be it. But if you are elected to serve, at the time that you are elected, I feel that for that whole time, you knew what you were going into to serve at. And I don't feel that it's appropriate to change that when you made the commitment to that, when you were elected as a servant. And I guess that's the best way I can describe how it feels in my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
So we have, you made the motion to pull and change section B. So that is the, and pull that difference. So that is the motion that we have on the floor to make our pass or not pass. So I have, is that correct? The motion that you have?
I think
it's already been pulled.
It's been pulled.
This is what needs to be made is a motion to either pass it or fail it.
Okay. All right. So I have a motion on the floor to pass pulling section B. Is that correct?
I think the motion is it's already been pulled.
Mm-hmm.
There's a request to pass this without section B.
With or without section
B. And so we need to see if there's a second for that motion.
Okay. All right. So Ms. Boyle made the motion. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, so now we're still back to
We need to
the
vote
main.
it up or vote it down.
Right.
Okay, so we do need to vote on that section of, for our consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to pass?
So moved.
Second? I make the second. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. So now we will move on to our consent agenda for the finance items. Do you have any questions, Mr. Whitehurst, on that?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Boyle?
No, ma'am.
Do I hear a motion to pass the finance?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes for the finance. Thank you very much. I will move on to superintendent's comments.
Yes, Madam Chair, we obviously had FADS and FSBA last week, so enjoyed the time with Ms. Boyle and Ms. Brookins and Ms. Colenzi. So when we missed Mr. Whitehurst and Mr. Asbell, so I know Mr. Asbell is recuperating, and had the opportunity to see him on Friday night. And just want to say how thankful I am that I get to live in Levy County and my family gets to live in Levy County, because I got to witness Mr. Whitehurst's family there, who's a former Bronson Eagle there with Mapry, and we were able to help support Rebecca Hood. The board was generous enough to go in with me in buying a cake, and I think with the cake auction alone, they raised close to about $10,000. So for a lady who's given her heart and soul to Bronson, and has a difficult job with the position that she is, so she works with some of our most special and unique students, and she has a love and a smile on her face, and is the epitome of a servant. And so was happy that we were able to do that. Still waiting on the governor to get presented the budget. I know Ms. Lake is at a finance directors conference right now, and I know there's a lot of talk there. We have not received any special facility funding since late January, and I know there's a lot of districts that are a lot worse off than us. Matter of fact, talked to one this week, or one today, matter of fact, that is in concern of having to shut down their project. So extremely thankful that our project's coming into a close, and would be nice to get a little bit more special facility funding to get that faucet turned on to finish those books. And you'll notice in there that Ms. Kroll, appreciate the board. That's a real big help at this time of year with what she does on that special facility and helping. So Ms. Lake and Ms. Whitney with all that they have their hands full. It's that time of year where we're hiring people and people are leaving, and we're actively shaking the trees to try and find some good fruit to come in and kind of help. But I think you saw there tonight with the representation that we have good people working with our kids. Ms. Cooey is one of the best, and Ms. Hires is doing a jam-up job as the AP at Williston Middle High School, so appreciate her efforts. Other than that, there's a lot of hard work that's going on in the back of the room by some people, and we're anxious. We'll have a couple school admin workshop coming up here in a week, and so excited and looking forward to that and getting everybody in place to move forward with the school year. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cowart. I'll start with Mr. Whitehurst. Comments.
First, I want to say, we're elected up here to, say, to speak our minds and to feel what we feel led to do as our people elected. And if Ms. Boyle, feels a certain way, I feel like that's the way she should speak, and she shouldn't be ashamed of feeling that way. So I want to say that. So we're all excited for the FFA next week. I know they're going to do great things. I'm just you know, they put a lot of hard work in it, and that they, like I said, it shows. I mean, those are middle school kids. Those are not even high school kids. I mean, and just to be able to get in front of people and speak, and you know, that's a hard thing to do. So I certainly commend them for that, and might be a little partial to one of them, but but they all did good. So excited about that. Certainly don't miss Mr. Slimp at the high school, but I'm glad he's not leaving us. Cedar Key's getting a good one, I know. So we certainly got work cut out for us at Williston to, you know, get a good replacement. I know Mr. Caller's working on that as we speak, so I know look forward to see what kind of the new chapter at Williston's going to be. And lastly, I know Safety Patrol. My daughter and my wife and mother-in-law's there. I got a picture today in front of the White House. They're having a good time. It was a little long day yesterday, dropping them off at 4:30 at Bronson, but but they're having a good time. They got in about 9:30 last night, so they're having a good time. I tried to call one time. They was on tour, so they're all having a good time. So anyway, just pray for their safety and having a good time. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Boyle?
I'll just echo off of Cedar Key getting Mr. Slimp, and of course we will miss Mrs. Lawrence very much, but look forward to spending some time with Mr. Slimp. And I've already, you hear the community and the teachers and staff, and they're very pleased. So looking forward to that very much so. This time of year, everyone, they leave. Some good ones leave us. A couple other ones from Cedar Key that will be missed is Shanna Brinkman. She was the confidential secretary in change of, another retirement. And Teresa Molden is going to Williston. I think that was probably a hard decision with Mr. Slimp coming to Cedar Key. But understandable. They'll be missed. They work very hard. The end of the year luncheon at CPS that the PTO puts on was fabulous, and they treat everybody really nice and do a great lunch at the last day of the school year there, the half day. So that was great. And I've already asked Mrs. Brookins, but she doesn't feel I'd step on her toes if I mention Miss Katie Corbin, of course, again, and big shout out to her, wish her well. I wouldn't have the Jimmy Boyle that I have right now if it wasn't for Katie Corbin, and there's no doubt about that. And I know she's done it to many other students, just made them rise above. I know she wanted to strangle him and some others at times, but she held back. But she made him a better person than he is today.
We will always appreciate her.
That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I know summer's a time of, a lot of work and contracts and hiring, and everybody thinks it's just kind of slack, but it's not at all here. I do know that. But I also want to wish the Safety Patrol well. That's just such a wonderful trip, a great experience. I wish all the kids had it. And that's terrific, and I'm glad that we still continue that, and hope that we always will, and look forward to some more, nice pictures up here of all the Safety Patrol. So wish them the best, and that's all that I have. If there's not any other comments, then thank you very much, and meeting adjourned.